Live. Welcome everybody. Money Lunch Friday. We're talking today, continuing our series on getting our financial house in order. Just, really making sure that we emphasize the importance of learning the things about money that we weren't taught in school. Again, my name is Richard Harden, born and raised. For those of you that I haven't met in real life, I was actually born and raised here in Atlanta, Georgia, went to school, got a good education, got out here into the world and realized I didn't know anything about what I needed to know when it came to money, and found myself making a lot of money, but feeling like I didn't have any left. Can anybody relate to doing the things they said to do, getting a job, and then finding yourself like, where'd the money go?
I know I can.
And it was specifically difficult for us because my wife and I started our family really early. Our first child was born when I was 18 years old. So we were finishing college. And at the same time, getting into the workplace, we had bills, we had a new marriage. And quite honestly, the majority of our struggles were two people trying to live off one checking account. How many of you can relate to two people writing checks, but nobody knows where the money is, where it went, where it's going, and what we're trying to do? And so I found myself in our most frustrated year doing our taxes, reviewing and seeing that the bank had made close to $300 in overdraft transfer fees and NSF fees. How many of you ever bounced a check or had a check clear, but they charged you because it wasn't quite enough money in the account that they cleared it from?
Yep.
That's their profit. They were building around just our challenges with this area. So when I talk about foundation, let's recap where we were. For those of you that worked here with us a couple of weeks ago, let's recap what we do in our Getting Your Financial House in Order series. Not at the end, we'll start at the beginning. And that's my dog over here making extra noise. Hey man, calm down. There's not time to scratch your back. So if you think about where we are, the financial roadblocks that we have to overcome are obvious. And as we teach this message, I want everybody to make sure that you understand the enemy so that you're not fighting yourself or your family. Meaning, if you think about it, taxes, debt, inflation, big business, those take the majority of our money. If you look at how the money comes into most homes and where it goes out. Yes?
Yes.
But the biggest challenge most of us have beyond knowing what the enemy is building a mindset that's designed to attack it and having a plan that we stick to that helps us to win. So today we're going to talk about, we just recap, mindset of rich versus poor. You can read along right here. If you think about these things, the approach, the attitude almost always dictates the results. And rather than me read these to y'all, just recap what we came up with was the foundation of getting your financial house in order is your mindset, is the education, is the game plan, and it's the team. It's the people that you are around that will influence both what you want and what you do. How many of you can agree that you have certain friends that you do certain things with?
Yep.
I got friends that I dance with, I got friends that I work out with, I got friends that I drink with. All of those are different kinds of friends, but their behavior always influences what happens. And you have to put together a financial team that's looking to help us get to the other side when it comes to cash flow. But today, so that's a recap. If you want that, just text the person that invited you. They'll get you the link to last week as we broke down each section, the mindset, the education, the game plan, and the team, and the importance of continually developing your foundation. But today we're going to move on to this middle part. It's the core. Like if you think about a financial transformation, I think about a financial transformation like a weight loss transformation, right? Where if you really think about this next step up from the foundation, it's the core. So as a person that goes to the gym a lot, you got legs, that's a foundation, but core, that's where all the strength and power comes from, right? And the core of a financial transformation, believe it or not, is a written budget. That's right. Once you get the mindset, you can have all the affirmations, you can have all of the right things put into the plan, but until you have a day-to-day, week-to-week plan that you operate on, you're always going to be wandering a little bit in the dark. Does that make sense? Now, in my conversation with Eric Elam, he's my wealth advisor. One of the things that he focuses on, he says, a budget is straightforward. It should be just in minus out equals zero. And my good friend John Maxwell. How many of you read John Maxwell's books? John Maxwell, he's the world's foremost expert on leadership. But I think my favorite quote from John Maxwell says, a budget is you telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Take a screenshot of that. Put that on your Facebook status. Somebody will ask you about this process. But if you really think about a budget, it's it's basically 6 steps to the budgeting process. And the first step is also the last step. So I put it at the bottom. But the first thing you got to do is specify your income. Second thing is list your expenses. Third, subtract your expenses from the income and apply anything that's left to the next goal. Goal is in minus out equals 0. Making sense?
Yes.
Track your spending and then budget every month. I'll tell y'all a secret. How many of you know that I think I'm smart? Hey, man, I used to be so smart that I thought I could do all the math for everything that was coming and going in and out of our house in my head. How many of you know I was wrong? Well, let's see if any of you were ever as smart as me. How many of you, when you said check the budget, really meant check the balance?
Been there.
So it's not just me, but here's what we did. One of the things that you got to make sure that we do, because this is how we improve. Once we start writing our budget down, and write your budget down every month. This happens to be a good day for me to talk about it because I am budgeting my 15th of the month paycheck. How many get paid twice a month? So we're literally in budget process right now and have some major projects going on. So if you think through your budget and your income, when I say specify income, write everything down. Don't just have in your head that this thing is coming. So your paycheck, however much you get paid, whether you're salary or hourly, if you get bonuses and commissions, that'll have to be on an as-earned basis because you can't spend a bonus until it lands in the account, right?
Right.
And then any business income that you have. And if you don't have business income, talk to some of the people on this line. We have ways of building and daily income that you can budget. Put that in your notes. Any amount of business income that you can make does 2 favors for you. The first thing is it sets you up in a position for a tax advantage that we'll talk about later. But the second thing of business income is some of it's in your control, meaning you might not be able to increase your income at your job. How many of you just have jobs where they pay you what they said they were going to pay, and you hope they do that? But in your business, you and the group of people that you select can increase your income every day if you choose, especially with what we do. Does that make sense? Now, next thing. So we got our income total. By the way, we put a note. Remind me, Morgan, there is help available for people with income to get paid what they get paid from their job. We'll talk about that after we finish the basics, okay? Second thing is list your expenses. Now you'll notice I have an expense that most people don't have in their budget, and it's something that I had to learn for myself to put into the expenses because my history was when I got paid, everybody else got paid. Does that make sense? So on my payday, Sandra, the rent would get paid, car note would get paid, kids would get to go out to eat, McDonald's would get paid, and then we'd have no money left. When I read a book, and I recommend books all the time, but The Richest Man in Babylon is one of my favorite books. And it says that you should pay yourself first, not less than 10%. Put that down. So you got to take your income, multiply it by 0.10. Not less than 10% of your income should go to you. Does that make sense? So it's for your investment. It's for starting the process of attracting this idea. More than enough. Everybody tap your head. It's more. I got more than enough. So 10% I'm going to keep for me so that that money can go to work. Does that make sense? Because I don't know, did anybody ever make this mistake? I'm going to take care of all the bills and then I'm going to invest what's left. How much was left at your house? Nothing, nam, zero, us too. And we have to be intentional about it, just knowing there's an enemy and its job is to attack what we have so that we feel scarcity and don't have anything left. So we have to intentionally plan our affairs so that up front, the savings are taken care of. Does that make sense? Now, second part, in terms of expenses, I say that there's three things that you have to do when it comes to every dollar that goes out of your house. You got to categorize, prioritize, and minimize. Categorize first. Basic process that I was teaching my children as they were transitioning into adults is the difference between needs and wants, right? So start with the four walls in your house. You need to pay the rent because you got to have a place to stay. You got to, have food to eat, utilities, having a place that doesn't have the lights on is not sexy. Candles are cool one day only. But pay the rent, pay the mortgage, take care of food, utilities, insurance, but then also food, both your groceries and the out to eat. We had to put something in our budget at one point, Morgan, for adult beverages. They were not being factored into the budget, but they were definitely being consumed. And that was where the difference was. But clothing, and here's something new. Everybody should pay close attention to these, because how many of you have noticed on your account where you end up somewhere with like $20 gone for something that was an automatic payment that you bought something, software, you're on Google, you're on Facebook or Amazon, and you've ended up in a subscription and you don't even know what that thing is for, right?
Yeah.
And that could be $9, $10, $20, whatever it is. It wants you to know what they are and then ask yourself, is this okay with me? If it's necessary, keep it. If it's not, start getting rid of some things. Does that make sense? Now, the simple basics to the budget, what's the last step? Is just subtract. If you add up all the income and subtract all the expenses, including the expense that's you paying you for your investment or your future goals, the goal is zero. Now, if the number isn't zero, that's what we call margin in our business. That's the extra. That's what we apply to our next focused goal. Depending on where you are in your financial transformation, that might be your emergency fund. It might be toward your debt snowball to start paying off some debt. It might be for the purchase of a home, might be for college fund, retirement, or just further investment so that you're acquiring wealth. That depends on where you are in your process. Does that make sense? Now, in the case that you're at the very beginning, I don't have a slide for this, but the most important place to apply margin first is to get as quickly as possible to where you have a mini emergency fund. And I'm saying the word mini, M-I-N-I, not M-A-N-Y. What tends to happen for most people is we have many emergencies, meaning they happen all the time. So it's predictable enough that somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000, something unexpected is going to happen in your life in the next 90 days. I'm not cursing it. I'm just saying what's real for me is tires blow out, air conditioning needs to get fixed. Somebody has an emergency medical situation, any of those things. And here's what happens. If we don't have that one, Brian Bean has some cool sayings, doesn't he? Brian says your stress level is directly related to the size of your emergency fund. And if you think about it, if you know, hey, you know what, we're gonna have to get a new range downstairs. No worries, that's something that's gonna cost $500 to $1,000. I've got a place earmarked for that. Does that make sense? So mini emergency fund combined with the budget. The first thing that we got to target our budget to do is to make sure that mini emergency fund, that's $1,000 to $3,000, is in place and ready if needed, but hopefully not to have it. Wisconsin had the power out for 2 days, Sandra. Lord. That's a sudden need for groceries because now the groceries in the refrigerator going bad. It's more out to eat. We had 4 days where the power was out here. I checked into a hotel. It was like, I can do without power, lights, and the TV for a little while, but I can't be me without the internet. I have to work from here. So
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't
Speak a little bit louder.
Said Stephanie I was not. because I live in a different area.
Okay, so you were fine, but it's one of those things. It's just what we know is that things are going to happen. So we got to budget and be prepared for those. Does that make sense? Now, if you're like me, when you did the math on your budget, there were some things that were disappointing to you. Meaning when I did my budget many months, I would find myself in a place where once I added up all the bills and I added up what had come on my check, there was not necessarily enough money to get to the next check. Anybody ain't been in that place trying to budget, but the problem with the budget is the top number? Well, it turns out the problem isn't just the top number, it's the top number and the bottom number. Oh, let me say this. Oops. Before I transition, let me say, once you've got your budget in place, make sure to track your expenses. Don't just write a budget and then come back without actually following the things that are in the budget. Things that are in the budget, track that you spent what you said you were going to spend, and any place that you did it, don't beat yourself up, but make sure you either adjust the budget or your behavior the next month. Does that make sense? Meaning,
Yes.
if I know we only budgeted $50 for tasty beverages, but we drank $200 of tasty beverages, there are two places where an adjustment can be made, yes?
Yep.
Same thing in your world, whatever your example is. But here's what we're also able to do. Budget every month, because every month is a little bit different. Like coming up next month for us is September. What happens in September?
Labor Day.
It's Labor Day, but for us, it's Dragon Con. Yes, that is right. It is the world's biggest science fiction and comic book convention, and we dress up like superheroes for a weekend. So we do have to budget extra money for our costumes, for eating out, and for all of the things that we're going to do while dressed up as superheroes. But whatever is in your month coming, make sure that you budget. Put this in your notes. The baby's birthday is not an emergency. That's not something to hit the mini emergency fund for. You knew that baby's birthday was going to be in October. Budget what you're going to spend and then honor your budget. But now here's the good news about our particular movement is we can help with every part of the budget. Like think about this, Morgan. We actually have a team of experts that can help the average person working bring home more pay from their job. And there's a number of things that we can get into how this process works. But one of the biggest reliefs, the start of my financial transformation was understanding two things that the experts were able to help me do. The first was they were able to look at my tax situation and see that part of my problem wasn't an income situation, it was a tax reduction problem. They were able to show me how to legally, ethically, morally reduce the taxes taken out of my check so that I got paid an extra $636 that check. And every check after that, that's $1,272 a month coming back to help our budget. Does that make sense? And it's not just me. There are all kinds of people. Does anybody else on the line, does anybody else work with the experts on our tax reduction strategy? But think about this. This young lady over here, here's Ursula. She was in a similar situation. She submitted the documents. The experts were able to increase her take-home income by $455 per check. At the same time, this young man over here was able to increase income by another $800 per month. And here's the thing, it's your money. It's just that the government has been allowed to hold on to it interest-free for a year, 4 years, get your money back. That's step one. We can increase the income that we're adding to the budget. Now, the second thing that we can do with what we do is teach and show people how to earn and generate an extra daily pay anywhere from $5 a day to as much as $1,000 a day. I mean, congratulations, Sandra. I think your daughter just graduated to the $20 a day club. And if I'm reading this chart right, you're about to add an additional $150 or so in income to your house in a month from business income. And the best thing about business income is it allows us to offset taxes better because we get to write off things that are happening in our house. Second thing that our membership helps with is budget planning for income. Because Y'all hear that?
Yeah, a
The
little
yard
bit.
man, the yard man found out it was money lunch going on. He right there in the driveway. Oh, Richard, on? You on? Zoom. But imagine this. Think about this as a process. Now we're able to have a team of experts actually lower the necessary bills, meaning we've got a team of bill negotiators that will negotiate your bills lower. In my case, they lowered my cable bill by $48 a month. They lowered my home security system by 75%, which took it from $50 down to $15. And they lowered my Verizon bill another $40 a month. That's an extra $100 that they were able to get back to help my budget be better. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, the same thing, as we get better with credit, our payments go down. If you increase your credit score, once our credit score went up over the 800s, all of my insurance costs went down. My homeowner's insurance and my automobile insurance went down by about $500 a month. So it's the same insurance that I have, but because the makeover's in progress, it helps the budget and the bottom line. Does that make sense? And then the last thing, and this is something that I don't think people take enough advantage of, Morgan. I think we talked last time about the debt-free plan that our experts were able to give me. For those of you that are just hearing about what this process is, we have a system and a team of experts where if you put in what you're paying, the interest rates and how much you pay per month, they'll show you the creditor's plan and give you an alternative plan to get out of debt in record time. In my case, they took me from 24 years down to 7, now 6 years. I'll be debt free, and that will save me $276,000 in interest. But even more powerful is every month they help me with my budget. I get a statement every month. This is my July 2021 statement. It lists who I'm paying, what I should pay them to be on plan to be out of debt at the time frame that we've promised. Does that make sense? So that as we're having discussions over here at the house about what we're doing and why, we know who we're going to pay before the month starts. That's the last thing I'll say is make sure you make your budget before the month starts so that you have the full month to execute on your plan. And just understand, we're getting our financial house in order. And when it comes to building your budget, the process is simple. Building a basic budget, we start with our income. And let me share the screen so that you have the screen capture for your notes. Let's share it. Build your basic budget, specify your income, list your expenses, subtract the expenses from the income, apply whatever extra there is to the goal, track your spending, and make sure that you re-budget every month. Even if you're going to make the same money from your job, re-budget every month so that you are aware of your current plan. And most important thing you can do is if you don't like any of these numbers, ask some experts for help, because you can increase your income. You can decrease your expenses. And most importantly, once you get your cash flow together, working towards you, you can invest in yourself and have your money make you more money. That's how we do income shifting with a budget and a plan. Any questions? Well, we are right here on time for our Friday Money Lunch edition. I want to thank y'all for joining around the country. Really appreciate the ongoing interchange and exchange as we build that process. Tune in next week where we talk about the technology behind debt snowball, just understanding how to get out of debt in record time, pay minimal interest, but then accelerate your process for wealth, and how to speed up that process with specific tactics to have your days make you more money. This is Richard Harden, Money Lunch Friday. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thank you. That was amazing.